It was meant to be a celebration, the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But the shadow of conflict was casting a mood of pessimism across the Palace of Nations as the UN Human Rights Council began its opening session this week in Geneva.
Today, oppression is fashionable again. The security state is back, and fundamental freedoms are in retreat in every region of the world.
And nowhere more so than in Syria. Still no ceasefire. The bombing, the killing and the maiming have not stopped in eastern Ghouta, although the government says it's responding to rebel shelling on the capital of Damascus.
It is important for the United Nations to step up to the plate and also meet those challenges.
Outside the chamber, men who know all about challenges. Syrian members of the White Helmet rescue teams talking to a colleague inside eastern Ghouta.
We do not need assistance or aid. We need a ceasefire and a stop to the bloodshed and massacres being committed against civilians, women and children against Ghouta.
We have reached the stage of emotional meltdown, but the only thing that continues to give us strength is a smile that we see on a child's face or words of blessing from a father or mother.
The Rohingya crisis in Myanmar has been described by the UN as a textbook example of ethnic cleansing and the fastest growing refugee crisis in the world. 700,000, mostly Muslim Rohingya, have fled into neighboring Bangladesh. The country's army launched a campaign of murder and rape to drive them from their villages. But that's not how the minister from Myanmar described it in Geneva.
In the fight against terrorists who use civilian recruits, there will always be violence, collateral damage and civilian casualties.
Britain's Minister of State at the Foreign Office begged to differ.
And as I put to the minister just now, I said, what is the first duty of any responsible government? It is the security of all your citizens. And from a Myanmar perspective, that means irrespective of who they are, what community they belong to, and yes, that means protecting the rights and the civil rights and the human rights of the Rohingya Muslim community.
Many political observers might also have taken issue with both the tone and content of the speech by Egypt's Foreign Minister to the Human Rights Council.
Sameh Shoukry boasted Egypt created in record time a modern constitution in line with international standards to preserve human rights and fundamental freedoms. But when Egyptians go to vote in presidential elections in March, they won't have much of a choice on the ballot. Any real challenger to President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has either been arrested or forced to drop out. Human Rights Watch says the crackdown is a violation of the same constitution their foreign minister was so eager to highlight. And of course, Al Jazeera's journalist Mahmoud Hussein has now been held in an Egyptian prison for 14 months and has still not been formally charged. Egypt, Myanmar and Syria, three prime examples of how a government side of the story often stands in stark contrast to what is actually happening on the ground. David Chater, Al Jazeera, Geneva.